Hello, race fans. I'm a little late this week. Frankly, I was having a hard time scoring the Kansas race because it was a clean race for the most part, except for Cody Ware's spin at the end. And for, a lot of it, it was just clean running, clean green flag racing. Nothing really blew me away. Nothing really detracted from it. It was a solid race. It was okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was just a solid race, but it was boring at times. It was Denny Hamlin out front again. Kyle Larson kind of running for a little while. Then Kyle at the end got super tight after an adjustment, which allowed the Tyler Reddick and Denny Hamlin show to keep happening, and then Tyler Reddick ended up winning it. And so, don't fault Tyler Reddick. I thought he did a good job. Thought he had a fast car. I think Denny Hamlin probably should have won that race. And if Cody Ware had not spun, this is a replay of Phoenix last year, where if there wasn't a spin with 2 to 3 laps to go, Denny Hamlin would have won. But in racing, it happens. Somebody spins. It's totally kosher. It just, it is what it is. Cody Ware was on old tires and he spun. No big deal. But because he spun back onto the track, they had to throw the caution. If he'd stayed kind of below and out of the way, I think they would have let it run. But he did end up backing up. Like you can literally see Denny Hamlin passing him as he spins up into the track. So, it was a legitimate yellow flag. It's just the green white checkered finishes are getting kind of annoying. The overtime, I don't think it gives you exactly like who was the dominant driver for the day. It does kind of turn the last 2 laps into its own little crapshoot. So, yeah, this was a hard one to score. I had a lot of reservations. I mean, it's actually kind of wild to think that the O'Reilly's race on Saturday, even though it started out with Carson Kvapil flipping and having a wild barrel roll down the track, fortunately he's okay and the car's safety equipment did everything it was supposed to do. But it's just wild that the O'Reilly's race, frankly, was a better quality race, better passing, better everything. So I thought it was a difficult race to score for Cup, but let's get into it. So, what did I score it? I think I changed this score 5 times. I was like, no, racing quality was a little better. No, it wasn't. Oh, strategy was up. No, it's not. The tire, I don't know. I just kept going back and forth. I even watched several other creators. I even watched the Richard Petty podcast, and Richard Petty was not a fan of the Kansas race. So, um, I just thought this was a very difficult one to score. So I scored it 1 point above Las Vegas. Um, so I gave it 7.5 for enjoyability, 7 for racing quality. So I kept that basically neutral. Strategy I put up a little bit because I thought there was a little bit of strategy there. Tire I kept neutral, and then same thing. I thought passing was decent but not great, so it was a little bit above average. So, 7.5 for 3 categories, 7 for 2, and we came away with a 73%. So an above average race, but not much above average. It's basically like Las Vegas, but slightly better. And overall, like, I like Kansas. I like that track. I think it usually, like last year's races were phenomenal. So I'm wondering, is it the parity, or is it that Toyota's dominating and Chevy's having a hard time and Ford is trying to figure some things out? Um, I don't know. I don't know. I thought Trackhouse looked like garbage. Um, I think their cars are just off right now. I feel bad for Connor Zilisch and Shane Van Gisbergen and Ross Chastain because their cars just do not have the speed. Now, I think that if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong. You guys, know that, if I'm wrong, tell me. Um, but I think Trackhouse has a relationship with RCR. And so if RCR is doing bad, then Trackhouse is probably doing worse. And I think if Hendrick Motorsports has a relationship with Spire, and so if Hendrick Motorsports is doing okay and Spire is doing okay, then I think you can kind of see where that relationship there, Carson Hocevar looked super fast. His pit crew was what caused him to not be in the top 10. He had a 17-second stop. So, definitely like he had a fast car. He should have been rolling basically between 4 and 7 all day long, in my opinion, just because of how fast his car was and everything. He looked good and his car was on point, and it was pit issues that basically put him where he finished. So what can I say? Overall, it was a 73%. It was a decent race, a slightly above average. It could have been better, but I think the end definitely added to the overall enjoyment. So yeah, I think it's a slightly above Las Vegas. I wish it would have been closer to maybe a Coda, or a Darlington, but it just wasn't there yet. So overall, not a bad race, slightly above average, and but yeah, and so that puts our average for the year right around a 76.778. So not bad, but hopefully Talladega will start raising our scores, because what can I say? I'm a fan of super speedway racing. What can, but I like short tracks too. But let's look at O'Reilly. So I graded the O'Reillys at an 80. I just thought it was better passing, a better, more enjoyable race overall. Racing quality, I put at 8.5, strategy at 8, tire at 7.5, and passing at 8. Like I thoroughly enjoyed the Kansas race for the O'Reilly series. And what can I say? Taylor Gray getting a win, that was great. It was just better racing. And maybe it's because they've got a better handle on the car, so all the different JRM, JGR, everybody is a little more competitive in O'Reilly. It's just that it seems like in Cup we have a couple teams who've really found it. JGR and 2311, they have found the speed. Hendrick Motorsports is getting closer. We're seeing them compete, more in the top 10 right now. Spire has been, pretty good. RFK for the Fords has been pretty good, but Penske has been on one week with Blaney and then bad the next week, or uh, bad one week with Logano and then decent the next, and then boom, Logano's right back to garbage in Kansas. So it's been a wild ride watching what's going on with the Fords. You're not really, but it does look like RFK is kind of figured it out a little bit more than Penske has. So that's kind of where I am with those. But let us jump into, you know, the individual scoring. So yeah, obviously Tyler Reddick won. Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson, everybody kind of thought Kyle Larson when he was out front right at the end that he was going to get it. But you could say, and he even said on his radio that he was just plowing and he was just the setup for the final, couple laps was just not there. Chase Briscoe, the dude started what, like 13th on the restart, and because he was I think the first car with 4 tires, he was able to make up a lot of ground and get a good points day. So congratulations to Chase Briscoe on getting a decent points day. It sounds like Chase is finally getting his car dialed in. Denny Hamlin, I do think, kind of unfortunately let this one slip away. I thought he looked really good all day. It's Denny Hamlin. I mean, the dude is an absolute legend, first ballot Hall of Famer. So um, it just sucks that it was just such a replay of Phoenix last year, and you could tell in his interaction with Michael Jordan afterwards that, yeah, Denny was still pissed. He was not ready to be the happy owner of the Tyler Reddick car. He was still pissed about being the non-winning driver of the 11 cars. So what can I say? Bubba Wallace, he was kind of, potential. He could have. I thought he could have finished better. I think a fifth place finish isn't bad, but he definitely had a fast car. Brad Keselowski, again, the RFK Fords are looking good right now. And we got, Brad at 6, and then Chris Buescher and Ryan Preece at 10 and 11. So RFK has definitely started to figure something out. So I'm excited to see some speed out of them. And then here we got Hendrick Motorsports, William Byron in 7, Chase Elliott in 8. I think that is frankly good for them because William Byron hasn't looked like the William Byron of last year at all this year. So seeing him break into the top 10 and have a decent day, I think is overall good, and it's showing that Hendrick Motorsports is figuring out this new Chevy body style. Same thing with Chase Elliott here at 8. He looked better. I thought he probably could have finished a little better, but an 8 for Hendrick Motorsports right now is not a bad finish. Ty Gibbs, I'm frankly a little surprised he finished as low as ninth. I mean, he's been on such a tear where he had basically top six finishes for what, six races in a row. So a top nine is not bad, but frankly, I guess I was expecting him to do a little better because he's been just so good. Um, yeah, same thing. Austin Cindric had a pretty good day, was kind of quiet, but he crept up here and finished 12th. And then Carson Hocevar, man, as I said earlier, he got screwed by his pit crew. 17-second pit stop. I think he's lucky to get the 13th place finish with that happening because look, he started in sixth and he was running as like a sixth fastest car most of the day, except for you could see they kept showing his pit stops and it was just like a drop and a drop and a drop. So, yeah, I think just an unfortunate day for Carson Hocevar. Riley Herbst and Corey Heim, I think they're going to have a rough meeting in the JGR race team meeting this week because Corey Heim almost put Riley Herbst into the wall. Not sure it was intentional, or maybe Corey Heim was saying, Riley, you did something wrong and he needed to be a little bit educated about what's going on there. So who knows? But I thought this was also wild. Austin Dillon, RCR, showing a top 16 placing. So congratulations to him. I thought a solid day for him and RCR for the number 3 car. But the fact that we're celebrating a 16th place finish for RCR is just not anything I would have ever expected from a team that has Kyle Busch, um, and Richard Childress. Like they've got to figure out something, and I don't know what it is. Is it something in the engine? Do they need just more speed? Is it a torque so they can get more takeoff? Like what is it? There's something they've got to figure out in the setup so that Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon can run better. Todd Gilliland, great finish at 17. I don't think he was really um, I don't think we were looking at a top 15 for him most of the day, but he wasn't bad. I think Todd Gilliland is an underrated driver. Alex Bowman, I'm just happy he finished the race. Started 33rd, ended up 18th, and so for his second race back from Vertigo, I have no problem with that. I just like seeing him, basically consistently get better as he gets back into the rhythm of the season. And then Daniel Suarez, again, I think he should have finished a little higher. He started 8th. He had good speed. I think this was just kind of circumstances. And then same thing with Christopher Bell. He would have had a top 5 finish. He had potential to actually win it, but let's see, Denny Hamlin into Tyler Reddick, Tyler Reddick into Christopher Bell into the wall, broke a toe link, and he's lucky to finish 20th. So, what can I say? That's the top 20. And overall, I thought, as I said, like, just it could have been better for some other teams. It could have been better for Spire. Spire had shown so much speed. 2 cars starting in the top 10 was awesome, but again, some pit issues for Hocevar, and I forget what happened to Suarez, but I feel like both of them should have finished higher than they did. And overall, I thought it was, again, it's just like it was a solid race, above average race, but not a great race, not a really good race even. It was just a yeah, that was a race. It was okay. So, but let us jump into standings because this is where everybody is looking right now. Let's get this a little wider. Too wide. All right. So Tyler Reddick is out in front. What is going on? All right. Sorry. that populated weird. I had to go to a different spot. All right. So we have. Oh, I see what it is. Whatever this on the left is they've screwed up their own page. Wow. All right. Let's see if that works. Sorry, guys. Doing this live, and we're doing it live, and it just looks weird. So, all right. That looks a little better. So Tyler Reddick, 457 points, and he's 105 points ahead of Denny Hamlin. I do think Denny Hamlin can make that up, but frankly, as long as you're in the top six when the points reset for the chase, I think you're going to be all right because the difference between first position and second position is going to be roughly 25 points. So I don't think that that's necessarily an issue that you're 105 behind. As long as you're in the top six, is what everybody seems to be saying, is that you're going to be in like vying for the championship. Denny Hamlin in second, Ryan Blaney in third. He did not have a good day at Kansas, which was surprising because I usually expect him to be running top 10 or even top five, but usually like at minimum top 10. So when Ryan Blaney has a bad day, something's just off. It just seemed like Penske was off as a company for Kansas. So, Cindric, as I said earlier, was able to kind of scrape a decent finish at 12th. Ty Gibbs is sitting tight at fourth. Kyle Larson moved up one. Chase Elliott dropped one. William Byron is sitting there at seventh. Bubba Wallace sitting at eighth. Brad Keselowski up 2 spots to ninth. Christopher Bell down one to 10th. Busher down one to 11th. Carson Hocevar up one to 12th. So it's good. I'm cheering for Spire to be in there because I want it to be more than just the JGR, HMS, Penske. I'm sick of just the big three being the only ones in the top 10. So I like seeing the RFK Fords in the top 10. I like seeing the Spire Chevys in the top 10. I like seeing the 2311s in the top 10 because it means that the teams that aren't the established big three, Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing, and Penske Ford, it's good to see the other teams vying and that it's not just the big money teams. So great to see Hocevar there. I'm a big Ryan Preece fan. Kind of ever since he won the Stafford race with Cletus, I just like this guy because he just seems so genuine and real. And the line from excuse me, the line from his win after the Stafford race with Cletus was that it gave gave him the joy of racing back. It was the just pure fun in racing, and I just thought that was great because it just shows you the dude loves short track racing, and he's so good at it. And he's just a hard nosed short track racer who just wants to be out there and winning. So I'm a fan. What can I say? Joey Logano, horrible showing at Kansas. Horrible. Dropped 2 spots, sitting at 14th. Chase Briscoe up 2 spots, sitting at 15th. So he is, at least starting to climb up the leaderboard there and come out of the basement. And he did not have a good start to the year. And then we get Daniel Suarez sitting on the bubble. He is, dropped 1 spot to 16th. And it looks like he's about 13 points ahead of Austin Cindric. So, and Austin Cindric's the first one out. Then Shane Van Gisbergen, and then Michael McDowell. But then we got Ross Chastain. So we do have, we got, Trackhouse right here. We got Spire right here. Again, I just really like to see these smaller teams be competitive for the championships, to get into the chase, to get have that potential for the postseason. So I think that's really good. So what can I say? Overall, that was a solid racing weekend, but it would have been much nicer if the Cup race was just a little bit more competitive, because it just seemed like the Penske Fords, the Trackhouse Chevys, RCR, we just had so many teams just hit or sorry, yeah, we had so many teams hit their setups and so many other teams completely missed their setups. And it was just such kind of a tale of which teams actually got it right and which teams were way off. Because at one point, I think we saw all three Trackhouse cars in the 30s. I think they finished like in the high 20s, low 30s, and it wasn't what we expect out of Ross Chastain, Connor Zilisch, and Shane Van Gisbergen, because they're better racers than what they're doing right now, which tells me that it's an equipment issue, a setup issue. There's something off with their cars. Same thing with Kyle freaking Busch. Kyle Busch is one of the greatest drivers I've ever seen, and I, it makes me completely flabbergasted that he's not doing better right now. And I don't know if they just need to go completely start the setup over, go to neutral and work from there again, or what. You know, spend a freaking week in the simulator with every setup possible and just figure out what works. Or maybe they got to fix the simulator. Maybe the simulator is itself not helping them correctly. So I don't know what it is, but there is something wrong with certain teams right now, and it seems like Trackhouse is one of them. RCR is another one. Penske, depending on the week, is either Ryan Blaney doing amazing or everybody's in the basement, and it just doesn't make sense. So, what can I say? We're all hoping for better racing. We don't like to see, drivers that we enjoy seeing win, like Blaney or SVG, you know, or even Kyle Busch. Yes, he has an abrasive personality, but the dude can freaking drive. And so that's why, people for 20 years have loved watching Kyle Busch because, yeah, he's an abrasive personality. Like, do I cheer for him? Mostly I cheer for him because when it is good, when Kyle Busch is winning, it is good for NASCAR overall. Because as I've said on this channel many times, my normie friends don't know anybody in NASCAR except for a couple names like Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. That's it. So when Kyle Busch gets a win or Denny Hamlin gets a win, that gets out into the greater ethos, into the greater, culture and yeah. But when Tyler Reddick wins, unlike except for when you're a five-time winner for the Michael Jordan team, other than that, like if he won 2, 3 years ago, nobody would have known about that. Because he's winning right now and Michael Jordan is so prominent, he's getting the notice. So it's one of those where if Kyle Busch is winning, that is good for the sport because the normies know the name and it gets out there and gets more eyeballs. But when, somebody like, uh, Ross Chastain wins, you mention Ross Chastain's name to a basketball fan, they're just going to look at you like, who? What are you talking about? You mentioned Tyler Reddick, they'll go, oh, you mean the Michael Jordan guy? But you mentioned Kyle Busch, and they'll recognize it because Kyle Busch has been around for 20 years. You mentioned Denny Hamlin, he's been around for 20 years. So, got one more topic I want to touch on, and that is ARCA and Cletus. The ARCA race I thought was actually pretty good. I do have some issues with the Gio Ruggiero and the way he was able to cause the final caution, which allowed the restart to happen. He literally drove through another driver, Destiny. Just drove right through her, spun her out. Fortunately, she's a good enough driver that she was able to save it and then participate in the restart. But Gio just drove right through her rear end, spinning her out. Um, I'm I don't know if that should be penalized. I don't know what the exact rule is. It didn't look good. And frankly, I don't think you should be able to drive through somebody that egregiously and not be thrown all the way to the back of the line or something. So I don't know what the exact rule is, but it was quite obvious that Gio just intentionally spun her out to get a restart, and it allowed him to get the win. So I guess if it's win at all costs, great. But I got some questions about what the rule book says about that. So I'll have to dig into that. And then the other part of it is Cletus. Cletus, because they weren't able to do qualifying, Cletus had to start in 25th position. It was all based on how many points they had, and since he's not running full time, he's well down in the points. So he started actually behind LS George, or Squirrel as you want to call him. So he started behind George Siciliano, but he was able to work his way from 25th all the way up to 7th, and then he was kind of bouncing between 7th and 10th, and he had an oil line come off and spray the track down with oil. He caused two other drivers to crash, and that's horrible for them. But nothing Cletus could have done. Like, not his fault that the oil line was not crimped properly. Because when you look at the crimp, it was quite obvious that you know it should be all the way in, but the crimp was like barely on, and it didn't look like they fully crimped that hose. So it was just kind of a matter of time before that hose had an issue, and it blew oil everywhere. You could see the entire side of the Cletus's number 30 was just coated in oil. But the impressive thing was the car control. And the car control of being able to drift a car going 170 miles an hour through turns 1 and 2, control it, not get into the wall when you have oil going onto your tires and everything. That is impressive. And so the car control alone should be something that people go, wow, that was thoroughly impressive. Because even Carson Hocevar said afterwards he wasn't sure that he would have been able to have an oil line blow and not put it into the wall. So congratulations on Cletus on keeping his car intact. And then it looks like we're going to see Cletus race again at Nashville, another similar to Rockingham, a big mile plus track. So looking forward to seeing that. But I don't know. Let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe, and comment below, and let's keep this conversation going.